I grew up in Connecticut.
Oh, where? Okay.
Stratford, Bridgeport, Fairfield County.
Well, I grew up in Manhattan and Rockland County.
All right, that's my. I mean, it was fantastic to get on the train from where I lived, and it was like $8 each way or something to get to Manhattan to Grand Central. I'm like, this is so great to live in. Like, I'm a New Yorker at heart, because especially growing up in the 80s, 90s, like there weren't even like Connecticut stations. We were getting all the New York feeds. Right. I was a New Yorker. I was watching all my Yankees games and Mets games and getting New York weather and New York City happenings and all that stuff. And I was like, this is a good spot to be in. But no, I always knew of Troy and this area and stuff. But even at that time, I was like, you'll get stabbed. Like, don't go there. It was like, don't so much. It wasn't like, let's go to Albany today, kids. And it was never that. So, the quick run around Connecticut, and then school in Philadelphia, and lived about 10 years in Florida. And then I was like, let's get out of Florida. Like, done. We're fine. Living on the beach and everything. Had my Jeep top down, doors off every day. And I was like, there's more. We got to do more. Like, for a lot of people, I think that this is how I was saying. I was like, this is like an end game for everyone. Like, I live on the beach. I have a Jeep. I could go play outside.
You're 30-something years old. And you're
30, like, making good money. Like, this is it. For me, it's like, we got to get out of here. I'm too comfortable. So we moved up to St. Lawrence County. My girlfriend, she works in education. She works at Sage College now. And she got a job
right here?
Yeah.
Troy?
Yeah. She got a job.
I'm the EIR there. The entrepreneur in residence. I also teach there.
She knows you. She knows. She's director of career planning. Carlene.
Oh, I know Carlene. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Small world. Yeah. I love Carlene. She's awesome.
I've been with her since 1999. We've been together forever. Yeah. And that's the other side of it too. That we're one of those that don't get. I'm like, I don't want to get married. Like, do I want paperwork? Like, I don't want paperwork. Like, let's just have a relationship and see how this goes. So after 19 years, I'm like, we're starting to get to know each other. Like, this might work out.
Did you say that to her?
I say it. I tease her all the time.
Okay,
but it's true. I see so many people, friends and family, get divorced. Actually, we just found her cousin this weekend is now getting divorced, which is like sucks. I'm like, hey, listen, sucks like if we
have kids too,
and they just had their second one.
Oh my God.
Like, it's a 7-month-old baby, and I'm like, oh God.
Can't you kind of stick it out for a while?
Yeah, right.
Like how bad is it that?
That's So, and having known myself, I'm rather introspective my whole life. I'm like, if you make me sign those papers, based on what I see, I might feel trapped. Like, if it's on paper, like, I like the idea that we could just go and run away, and if we just like totally separate, and it's an easy break. Like, I like that. That makes me want to stay and stick it out. But like, people use that paper as like a weapon. And I was like, I don't want any weapon between us. Like, maybe we'll change in another 10 years. Let's whatever. I'll start rambling. I'm already rambling.
No,
let's talk.
Awesome.
Let's talk.
So I wanted to give you this stuff because I'm going to be here all summer in Troy.
All right.
I'm right down the block at Ignite U, and I think you can't get into this summer program, but if you come through some of the programmatic stuff I'm doing, it can help move your podcast. So my job is always to help people, right? At the end of the day, that's what I do for a living, regardless of what structure the company takes. But we're right here. The fact that you're doing this and that Troy has so many great resources that nobody uses or knows about. And, as a city guy, the last time I was solicited by a hooker was in Troy. Just saying. I don't get.
Is that one of the resources that nobody utilizes enough?
No, I didn't.
Our local hooker population.
But it's just weird that
Isn't it flattering? Even though she's doing it for money.
No, it was.
Even though she's probably disgusting.
It's always freaked me out. Like, it's
weird. Like, because it's what is your response, right? Like, how do I say
like, no, thank you?
But is that right? Yeah, is that the right one to say? Like,
I don't know.
Do you have to be forcefully? Because when you say a nice no like that, it's like the times I've been offered ecstasy or cocaine, and I'm like, no, thank you. Like, hopefully that's strong enough that you leave me alone. Like, is it the same thing with a hooker? Like, no, I've been offered gay sex from a gay hooker before. That was like confusing. I was just like, wait, I thought we were just talking here like being buds. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh no, this dude wants to have sex. That's the one that stopped me in my tracks. I was like, oh no, man, I gotta go. No thanks.
Like, I'm flattered, But no thanks.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, because this is a conversation I've had several times about. I have a issue with trying to be popular. Like, this is a very selfish endeavor. This is very, very selfish of me, because I want to make a friend. I want to learn stuff. I want to get energized. Like, this stuff, it gives me ideas, and it just kind of fuels my personal fire. So the idea of, of course, if it were to become monetized, that's fantastic. But it's still like, I have a hard time wanting to promote it.
So the other side of this isn't how you're making a living.
No. I actually, a lot of what you just said fits in emails and construction I've been setting up for the last 6 months. You're saying you help people, right? Like, your job is just to help. I started as of end of tax season, because I've been mostly a tax accountant, some form of accountant, past tense.
Gotcha.
This was all leading. That's what I studied at school, and it was just kind of to give me strength, a backbone of business. Like, so I've been doing that for 10, 15 years in different areas. Name it, and I've done it. But I always knew that's not the long-term plan. The long-term plan is to take that knowledge, but use like what I want to do. So actually, just in the past week or so, I'm like, okay, we're in the nascent region of like creating my dream job, almost essentially. I've started sending out like consulting. Here, like, got consulting business cards.
You?
Yeah, the C to D. Please. I started sending out emails, and Carlene's on it too. She's more of the career side, obviously. Yeah. Because obviously that's symmetrical with what she's doing, right in line there. But for me, I'm kind of, I'll use the term even so. I'm kind of all over the place in that I can talk about anything. Right. I can think about anything. Is really hard to say. Problem solver. It is, and I think I came up with a really good way to do it, and I started doing that in the last 2 days, sending out emails, just kind of blasting. I took some steps in my life. This is fun. This is like, I'm glad I can talk to you about this. This might be
you want to talk about this?
No. You do not. I'm gonna. How much time did you have here? Is this a half hour?
An hour. Well, okay. You gave me half, but I have an hour.
But no, you said 3. You said 3 to 3:30, but I was like, okay, if he only has half hour, that's fine.
No, I didn't know how you blocked it out, so I don't want to.
No. I could probably turn that ceiling fan on if it's a little stagnant.
Because I think this conversation would be awesome, because that would get.
Can you tell I'm excited?
Well, I'm just saying, because one is, so just to give you, this. I didn't know those were your cards.
Yes.
But we bring in business people to help these startups all the time.
Really?
So there is a pool, and the bigger companies in this area try to get in our door because they see it as a business development tool. I avoid them because, no offense, everybody has to make money. But if you're only coming here to steal all the companies that I'm working with for free, I can find better people who actually care. And at the end of the day, if I can match you up with a company that you stick with and become a founder and make a shitload of money, then I'm really happy for you, right? That's
right.
Because my background is I've started 130 companies. I know how to start companies. I know how to take an idea and live a dream job, because I've never had a job, especially to my parents. I've never had to work.
Right.
So I get what you're saying. I get kind of, and they say, what do you do? I said, I come in and fix companies, or I start them. And they're like, well, what do you do for them? I was like, I just told you.
Everything. Yeah.
Right? And that's what you're saying, and that's what some of these companies need, especially right down the road.
Oh,
we're right here.
I'm kind of aware enough.
Okay.
I'm aware enough, but yeah, obviously to talk to you.
I would love you to come in and talk to them, because you're living the life. So a lot of them are kind of, and I won't say this because I don't want to offend anybody that might be listening, and politically there's always... With
that said, you don't have to worry about ever offending me. It's zero chance. And that's that's your water, by the way.
You don't have to offend me either. City, who cares, right? We've created a welfare state of entrepreneurship where everybody's in love. Entrepreneurship is sexy now because people get money for ideas. You've had a million ideas. You haven't made a dime with them.
Right.
It's executing. It's doing the business cards. Yeah. It's spending late nights work. And I tell the story, no, it's much easier than that now. Then why is the failure rate of a business 87% year over year? It's never changed. 87% of startups die within the first year. That fact has never changed. Why is that? And they can't tell me. Because they never read anything about business.
Right.
And I shouldn't talk because I'm a bio major. I went to med school. So if you want to talk about career path,
that's right along the same vein. I think there are aspects of being able to do this, entrepreneur. I never consider myself, and I probably will never use that term for me because it is such an unachievable title to me. But I'm not. But I'm really hard on myself in that area. Like that's a word. Like you're talking about people just tossing it around flippantly, right? Like entrepreneurship, it's great. I'm an entrepreneur. And I see that, and to me, there's Elon Musk. All right, that's top tier entrepreneur. That's an entrepreneur. And then of course there's 100 million other people below him and within his category. And I'm like, I'm not in that league, but I'm gonna act like I am. But I'm never gonna say that I think I am because I don't think I am. If that makes any sense at all. It's a way to keeping myself in check. Like it keeps me hungry. So you're not the first person to say, hey, because my own tax business was my own taxes. Right. HateMyTaxes.com. Like it's a cute name. So it's like, you're an entrepreneur.
Well, I never used the word anyway. And then they started saying, you're a serial entrepreneur. I was like, I've never created a cereal in my life.
Yeah.
Right?
Ta-da.
I was like, right.
Yeah.
But it's true. I don't like labels anyway. And I only judge myself. I live in a world where I'm the worst person for myself, but everybody else is great. It's your own, and it keeps you where you know you need to be, right? Yeah, and it's just the way I think. I don't naturally think, like, I'm really great.
No.
I'm really great. Like, okay.
A healthy bit of insecurity and, like, crapping on yourself, it goes a long way. Like, that's the way I look at it. I'm like, oh, if I did something well, I'm just like, nope, you can do better. Like, what?
Exactly.
Like, right. Okay, well, or what's next?
Right.
Like, what's the next thing? Because are you going to have... one of my biggest fears is running out of ideas and running out of problem-solving skills.
That's what we can talk about. Ideation. Idea generation.
All right, that exact term.
So cool.
That exact term. See, I'll bring it back a little bit. And exactly that exact term.
My topic was, I'd rather talk about why you did this and why Troy, because for me it's fascinating. Like, when I saw Doug of Troy, I was like, he must be here his whole life. Right?
Yeah.
Because he's seen the slums, he's seen the hookers, and now everyone's talking about how sexy Troy is. And how edgy. And I was like, not really, but it's cool. It's a great little town, right? And anybody from near New York City, everything's a little town. So I live in Saratoga. Like, great city. I was like, where's the city?
Baby town.
No, I say it's a town.
Yeah.
It's a little village. They're like, no, it's a city. I was like, show me the city.
Have you, where what's your baseline comparison of a city? What's a city to you? Right. What's a city?
Are you saying Clifton Park's a city? Because it is.
Yeah, that's generating ideas. That actually goes back to one of the last few days I came up with it, or in the last week or so, I came up with, okay, how am I going to go for it, I guess, so to speak. Like, I want to be a guy that looks like he's going for it. Like, creating my reality.
We only had met 3 weeks ago. I could have got you. Ignite U's all about that. It's taking your idea and validating it and trying to figure out what it looks like. Because most people are like, here's my idea. And no one cares. Great. What can I do with your idea?
Right.
Make the bottle. Right?
Right.
Damn it. We're so close.
Thankfully, hopefully we don't die soon. And then we'll have more ideas and more time.
Be there next year. Because they cycle.
All right. Well,
but we'll figure that
generating out. this consult, like, once again, it's the words that I don't like using. Entrepreneur. I'm a consultant now.
Right.
I actually use that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I constructed this.
I should bow.
I'm like, okay, how would I promote myself? How do I get it out there of who I am and sell that? Resume, schmesume. By the way, you have the most prolific LinkedIn file I've ever seen. But
most people look at it like, what the fuck do you do?
Yeah. And I don't. I look at it and I'm like, this is so strange. I look at it and I think, I get this guy. I get this guy.
That is the only social media channel I'm on. The only one.
Huh.
I think. At least that I put up.
That is the first one I attempted to be on. You know, my girlfriend's career. She's like, get your LinkedIn profile up. So that was like 3 or 4 years ago. I'm like, okay, fine. But when I started Hate My Taxes, I was like, all right, fine. I get exhausted, man. I can't do even that.
I think it's defaulted to almost be like Facebook-like, from what I've heard. Like, I only use it because that's the easiest way I can keep in touch with all my clients, all my workers, because I have a distributed workforce, and all my investors. So if we're going to do a new company and I have to raise money, that's the first place I go to see who's interested. That's all I use it for.
It's a tool. It's a tool.
It's only a tool because I don't really. No one cares if I'm eating a hamburger today, or that I spilled water on myself because I do it every day. It's usually coffee.
Yeah, it's those topics that kind of repulsed me from that social media world for so long. I'm like somebody so many times, 100 times over the years. Somebody look at this on Facebook, and I'm like, I don't get. Can we go do something?
Why?
Like I'm fishing or whatever. I'm not even thinking. Like I'm thinking about something.
My Guinness is evaporating.
Yes. No, but yeah, I decided to promote myself. Wrote up this nice email, and I said the term a couple times. I generate ideas. Like that's one of my. I generate. If I'm sitting with somebody and we're looking at a problem, we're gonna solve it. Like it's just like like I have to, and so my idea to promote myself and. It's kind of weird because it was really uncomfortable, is I took an IQ test because I was like, all right, I've taken tests over the years. But it's terrifying. Nobody wants to take an IQ test. It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to find out you might not be that. Turns out I'm like, okay, I'm right where I would love to be. I'll show. I actually feel like I'm bragging a bit by showing it now. Okay.
So you're among friends here.
Yeah, no. But I mean,
whatever the hell you want.
No. I won't even say what it is to you, but the email I'm sending out, it includes this nice write-up I have. It includes a video I recorded here, a 2-minute video of an introduction, like, hi, this is me, this is why you should hire me, this is the way I think. And I attached my IQ test results, I took a personality assessment, and my resume. And I'm like, basically I'm just saying, this is who I am. This is basically who I am. All my results were kind of like, yeah, that's you. And I had friends, family, everybody look at it like, yeah, that's you. And I'm like, oh, that is me. Like I am me thinking like that and actually seeing it on paper has done a lot for me. Like something that I was resistant to for years. I've taken personality tests before. Say, I think in college when I was going to some sort of hiring firm or something, they make you take those tests. And I remember sitting down with the guy afterwards, talking about what do you want to do? Where can we place you? And he's just like, all right, let's take a look at your results. And he's like, I've never seen results like this before. And I was like, what? And that's not that was the first time it's happened. It's happened one other time after that too. And I'm like, this is weird. What's going on with me? But I would also dismiss them because I'm like, I don't even know what methodology you're using here. I don't know what it's measuring.
It says I'm supposed to be a goat farmer.
yeah, it would say some bullshit. Right. And it also wouldn't have any negative things in it, which I'm like, where's my negative? Because I have a lot of negative. And if these
I got a lot of mistakes.
if these tests aren't showing my negatives, how verifiable are they? How much confidence do I have in them? So I finally found this one, understandmyself.com,
oh my God,
and it's exceptional. Like it's developed by like 3 super genius Harvard people. They've spent like 15, 25 years developing it and selling it, trying to sell it to companies. It's $10, and man, it is thorough. I gotta say, dude, it's like 90% me. Like almost word for word. I recommend it for anyone. So I send all this out there. Really, I'm sending this to strangers. I'm sending all of this. It's a little terrifying, which is the fun part. The actual me taking the IQ test, taking the assessment, and making the video and I'm like, this is all me. Like this is what it feels like to really go. Like I've had this plan since I was a teenager. Like, okay, you're gonna learn as much as you can, and then probably somewhere in your 30s you're gonna be able to create the life that you want if you haven't already achieved it, by accident or whatever. The whole reason, I remember the day I chose accounting as my major because I was just like, okay, I want to know where the money goes. Like that's it. And then it just led to like, okay, let me over the years of working in public accounting and just having clients and like learning how they started their business, how like successful people, and just different areas and different expertise, and just absorbing, and working for some super billionaire people and really absorbing a lot with them. Like, okay, this is upper echelon stuff here. Like this is the big leagues. This is how a family office of people who own a sports team looks like. So I was like, okay, really soon you're going to be going out on your own and doing your own thing. And then shortly after that, I left that job and started to hate my taxes, and with always the intention that it was going to lead to somewhere else. I was like, I'm going to have a new idea. And within a year or two, I was like, okay, it's going to be consulting, because all of my conversations with my tax clients would always turn into a conversation about everything. and I find that I'm good at this, and holy crap, I'm excited to do this.
Right.
So I'm like,
this doesn't work.
Yes, exactly, because that's all paperwork, right? It's just uninspiring bullshit paperwork. And, I'm like, especially after, seeing all my results, I'm like, I may have wasted a little too much time in the accounting world after seeing all this. I'm like, yeah, because it's so clear now that all this shit I was feeling inside is real. Like, it's real. It's not make pretend. So now I want to make money off of it. So there's the capitalist in me, and then there's the hippie in me. Like, the capitalist wants to make money and sell my ideas and learn, and then hippie in me just wants to make the world a little bit better, a little bit less jerkish.
Well, hopefully we're all like that. Like, you want to think that most of us want to leave the world a little better than we found it.
The majority.
Right.
The majority.
There's
the majority, for
in
sure.
Anything there's bad, right?
Yeah, but there's a lot of the bad gets amplified, right? Yeah. Like, we live in a culture where it's the worst, and you turn on the TV.
It's human nature, though, right? We remember the bad, too. Because if you ask people for their most memorable times, a lot of times they'll bring up the negative first, a death, an injury, because that's evolution, right? If we don't remember the bad, it's just going to kill us, right? There's no genetic amplification if we don't remember the things that could wipe out our species.
Right. But then there's people who might mention those stories. Like, if I were to, mention a death or something, I would have a lot of ideas behind it and what I learned. Like, I feel that's probably the way you think too, is like, okay, my dad died when I was 13, not me, but like, my dad died when I was 13, and it wouldn't just end there. I would say, so I had this change of mind. I realized that maybe, whatever it might be. Like, I'm not going to tell you the bad stuff happened in my life for real and how it's affected me and the way I look at it, but it's like telling the story. It's like getting deep into what it really means. It's taking that life lesson. But if people are just like counting, like, yeah, 1986, that was a Challenger year. 1990, Iraqi invasion. Like, if
CNN news bites, right?
Yes,
I agree with you.
That's why the news bites.
There's not enough positive in this world in media, and I own a film studio, so I'm a big proponent of positive media. We try never to go negative on anything. Even we lived through 9/11. I personally lived through 9/11. I refuse to do those kind of sensationalistic programs. I wanted to find the nuggets of people pulling together, because the only thing we should have got out of that is this country is phenomenal at bringing people together that are not alike.
Oh my God!
Right? We are not. The beauty of this country is nobody's alike, and all of us are immigrants.
Let's keep it that way. Let's
We're
keep
all
it.
Immigrants, you jackass.
Yeah.
Like every one of us came off of a boat.
Yeah, and we are fantastic. That's exactly the thing I say. I'm like, guys, we are like incredible. You realize this experiment of the United States is working. Right. Like, this is what it looks like, and those crazy revolutionary geniuses in the 18th century, they wrote down that Bill of Rights and said, no, Europe, we're done with you. We're going to do our own thing over here. And they wrote down that Bill of Rights and that Constitution. It works! Like, they meant a lot of the words they wrote. Like, we had a hard time with execution.
Yes, but I think they lived it. They tried to see into the future of a better world. That's what I give them credit for. Right, because they get a lot of the attack that they're all slave owners and all that stuff.
But that's not it. Like, that wasn't right. That's far from. Thomas Jefferson is one of the most brilliant minds that's ever stepped foot.
I've read everything on him. And,
we wanted to move on Jefferson Street just because of that. Yeah. There's no house for sale.
So there. 9/11 was a watershed moment that we won't have to go into.
But didn't you feel that connection? You made me think. I was.
Growing up in New York City, I had an office on Wall Street. I lost to it, which I don't care about the office at all, right? I care about the people that were in it. I still have an office on 20th Street, but the way people just helped, it wasn't because you were black or I'm white or you look like a Muslim or what. They just helped because people were in need, and that's all I remember. Right? That's what sticks with me, and I was like, where the hell did we go from that to dropping bombs on people that we didn't even know caused it? Right? How do you make that connection? That's not America. That's not who we are.
It's not thoughtful. It's not thinking.
Thoughtful at all.
It's not thinking.
It was very teenage reactionary. which I feel like I live in right now in this country. Everything is ridiculously
It's so
stupid, petty fighting.
And it's so hard to have an honest conversation with people.
You can't.
It's so...
Because people just polarize.
Dude, it's so hard. Just a month and a half ago, I was in Boston, and I recently discovered you could take the train from the Rensselaer straight right into Boston. I'm like, this is fantastic. Like, goes through the Berkshire. It's beautiful. So anyways, I go out there to visit a friend who was in town, and on the way back at the train station, it was the day of the right, stand up for our lives. Whatever that fight for, whatever the kid, everybody's anti-guns, get rid of all guns and all that. And I'm sitting at the train station, and there's a woman kind of holding court, and just like at a big old table, just trying to like say, yeah. And she was going through so many things, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go sit over there and see what this woman is talking about. And she's going on about how her friends in Europe just can't, like Amsterdam, or her friends in Netherlands can't believe that we don't have these really tight gun laws, and that the crime rate, like everybody, all these people are getting shot all the time here and with guns and blah blah. I'm like, wait. So I listened for about 5-10 minutes. I was like, all right. I was like, do you mind if I inject myself in here? There's like 5 or 6 of us at the table. I'm like, all right, let me go through some of this, what you talked about. I was like, when your friend in the Netherlands is like, I can't believe you guys don't have all these gun laws. Anybody could just get guns. I'm like, what happened in 1939 in the Netherlands? Like, do they not remember? And a couple people at the table were like, well, what happened? Right? And I'm like, she's like, are you just asking that? I was like, no, please, let's start the conversation there, so we could take that apart. Like, see how silly of an idea that is. Why should we listen to a person who doesn't realize that if they had guns, it wouldn't have been so easy for the Nazis just to walk in and take their guns? And then we came into the whole, like, all of this. And I was like, so guns have their point. Like, the Second Amendment is for that. Like, the United States, we're the safest country in the world. I mean, geographically, it helps to have these two oceans, and our best friend north of us isn't going to start anything. Like bacon. Yeah. So I'm like, but our biggest deterrent for ever being invaded is that people have guns. Like, if the military goes to shit, guess what? You still have millions and millions and millions and millions of people with guns. And she's like, and they were like, of course, countering with, well, those guns aren't going to do anything against a tank or anything. I was like, look at Afghanistan. We've been in there for 16 years, 17 years. And those people don't have tanks. They don't have an air force. They don't have anything. They just have some guns. And they're killing us. And rocks. That's it. Like, and my
brother took down the USSR.
Yeah.
Afghanistan was the main point.
And it's small arms. And I was like, they have their place. And then just the whole gun violence and stuff. I'm like, in my lifetime, our lifetime, the gun violence has gone, the rate of guns has gone this way. Gun ownership has gone this way. Gun violence in the United States is trending down every year. I mean, I shouldn't say every year, but every 5 years or whatever it is. Since my lifetime, it's gone down like 45 to 55%. I was like, so we're doing like so many things right. Like, it's not the guns. And I'm like, but I just want to have conversation, because, you can't test your own ideas out without having a conversation.
Well, but respectful conversation.
A respectful, yes.
A respectful disagreement is, I think, what Jefferson said.
And I don't even, here's the thing, I don't even necessarily disagree. I just want to get to the truth. Like, let's figure this out together. Like, is that really the answer, getting rid of guns? Like, because if you're on the side of, yeah, I don't want mass shooting. Like, you have to go in with some assumptions. Everyone's a good guy, right? We talk about, like, the majority of people are good and positive. Like, but there's still those people that aren't. But you have to go in with the assumption that everyone hates dead kids. Like, schools that got shot up, offices that got shot up, Vegas concerts.
That would be a wrong assumption, because some people actually kill children.
But by and large, if we had a vote, all right? If we took a vote, everyone. Text in your vote. Everyone's saying, but of course, but by and large, we have to start the conversation with the assumption we're not bad people, either of us. We just have to think out this conversation. So she was very uncomfortable, and she even threw in, I have my PhD from University of Chicago, and I'm like, okay, that's great, but we're talking about this. Like, and I still haven't heard any good ideas. Like, she was just spouting off several other nonsense. I'm ranting, Bob.
It's all good.
When I find I had this conversation with my.
I love disagreements because I'm an Italian, right? So I live in whatever I say. No one in my family is going to agree with me. I know it. It's tested me. It's honed me. But I sometimes just take that position because I want to learn something else. And if I agree with you all the time, I'm not going to learn anything else, right? Because also if I'm talking all the time, I'm not listening, which is the other key, right? Listening is always the key. I love to hear people, and when they start talking nonsense, you're like, but 2 minutes ago you just said this.
Yeah, how often does that happen?
Just said, like,
that happens all the time.
It does happen
all the time.
Because you're just going. You're in the moment. You're just, not you, I'm just saying in general. People just go, and you're like, but I'm listening. And what you just said was the exact opposite of what you said 2 minutes ago. So which one is it? Because I am not that smart.
That's what I say all the time. I'm like, you got to define things for me.
Right.
Like, I need definitions of what we're
like
talking about.
No, we haven't even started.
No, we have started. We could pop these on, or we're recording, so this is the podcast. If we want.
Cool. I wasn't even.
I wasn't.
Should I listen?
You could hear yourself a little bit.
I don't want to hear myself.
I wear these because it's just fun. It is sexy.
Yes.
It is sexy. We do look sexy, and it's just
I don't.
It puts me in like a shell. Like okay. I feel safe. Like all right with my thoughts.
You sound really cool in here too.
Yeah. So, all right. So like I said, all right. 3, 2, 1. I didn't start this, but 3, 2, 1. Bob Manasier. Manasier. What part of Italy is that from?
Northern Italy in the Swiss Alps, near the Swiss Alps. Everybody thinks I'm French, which is. It's all good. There
was a town, Lugano. We a couple years ago, Carlene and I we flew into Switzerland and then took a train through the Swiss Alps into Italy, and I'm like, I love this place. It's just a beautiful region.
Like Florida, where you live.
Dude, no, it's not. Florida was awful. I couldn't stand Florida anymore. All right, so like I said, man, you have one of the a very prolific LinkedIn. So I'm like, what does this guy think about? What does he talk about? And what do you like doing? Like those three, like what do you think about and what do you talk about? Because looking at your LinkedIn profile, man, you're like, whoo, like going.
I like to go. I don't like to stop. I've never been able to stop, so I don't like to stop. What do I think about? It depends. I think about the Yankees a lot right now because we're looking awesome. I think about all the companies I work with. I think about how to make what I do better, how to give just to be better. I think everything drives me to perfection, and I'll never attain it. I know it, but it's going to keep driving me until somebody tells me I have to stop. So,
how'd you know this was you? Like you said, you started out as a bio major.
Yeah. So
pre-med.
The first thing I ever did, beside play sports, was start a company because this is because I didn't want to work for anybody. But it quickly morphed into I love being a servant leader. Like I love the interaction of even at that age with the people I hired, which were all my baseball team players, right? So we were all buddies already. I just loved the interaction, and it was successful. So the bad part was it was successful. So I thought everything would be like that. And it took me to school, it took me through college, and then I got rid of it because I was going to become a doctor. And then I went to medicine and med school and really didn't enjoy the business of medicine at that time. It was probably the only thing I ever quit because I don't like quitting. It was probably the only thing I ever walked away from thinking I would go back to it. I just never did. So I've started all these companies, but it's not the companies, it's the people I'm working with. It's always the relationships. So what drives me is relationship and team, right? It's not about me. It's about, do I add value to you or don't I? It's that easy. If I don't add value to you, we can part as friends, but I'm not going to stay here because I have nothing to give you. So then it won't be fulfilling to me because a lot of what I get out of life is what I'm helping other people achieve. It's kind of cool to watch people develop and progress, right? It's very cool. And as a parent, I see that on a very intimate basis from my children when they're first born to now that they're grown teenagers, right? Who push back a lot, and I love it. On many levels, I love the pushback.
It's transformation. It's like, oh, you're a person now. You have when you get pushback, right? Is it like, oh, you have your own thoughts?
Well, it's amazing to think. How do you think like that? Because I would never think like that. And what did you learn it from, right? But you have all these other inputs that you forget as a parent that they're hearing and interacting with. They have their own lives, right? From the first moment, we all go through this fairly alone, right? We live in our heads. I mean, we had an hour conversation about ideas, right? We live in our heads more than we live anywhere else. So it's fascinating to watch. And I love doing that with anything. So
that is the way I've described this recently a couple times to several people. There's the outward the world, right? There's the world, like that journey of my life so far. Like you said, where did you grow up? And I said, I kind of give you a lowdown. Oh, I grew up in Connecticut, school in Pennsylvania, lived in Florida for a while, New York, did this, did that. To me, that's like 10% of the experience. The journey I've been on in my head has been, it's been fascinating. It's been fascinating. And that's exactly the way I see it too. That's what I hear you saying. And just like, what your son or your daughter saying something like, what's going on in there? Like, you can't see it. It's the realest part of us you can't even see. The real person is so hard to see sometimes. But every now and again, you meet a person, you're like, all right, they're giving me the real person. Right. Because so much of our interactions daily are, how's the weather? Right. How's your drive today? Or like, I can't, like, for me, that's tough.
It's the facade.
It is.
It's how do I interact with people without really not interacting, because I don't want to open myself up, because if I open myself up, there could be pain. I'm more liable, right? It's tougher to be open with people because people slam you so many in life, right? People just attack.
There's a lot of contempt for openness and novel ideas, or people that are going for it. That's my term of the day. It's like going for it.
Weakness in it, which is really odd, because people who are really open, I'm usually attracted to, because I just like open, honest dialogue. You don't have to agree with me to have a really good dialogue, I hope, because I am open-minded. But I will push back when things I don't believe, right? But there's nothing wrong with that. I think we've lost that, and we talked about this already, but I think we've lost that in this country. We have to take a position and hold it. Well, most of our positions are going to vacillate depending on where you are in your life, what you're going through, right? I don't like very rigid.
And that's exactly what all our ideologies that people hold on to. There's a term I've heard recently someone say that is that too often people don't have ideas have people. They marry themselves to this idea, and if you come in and you try to challenge that, you're met with resistance. You're met with somebody, often anger or disgust, or like, shut up, like it's like a fight back, and they don't want to talk about it, which to me is so absurd. For somebody who lives in my head, like where I've been tackling and critiquing myself every day of my life, like, okay, what are your flaws? Or what did you do there? Or like, just really just like, okay, why do you think that? Like, that's dumb. Did you realize how dumb that was to think that? And then when I don't get that, see that kind of work that a person's putting in to their, I'm like, you're not taking this seriously enough. Like, take yourself seriously. What are your ideas? You're not right. You're not left. You're not, like, you don't have to be married to these things. Like, life is nuanced, right? Like, there's no simple answers. Everything has layers of fabric that need to be examined and taken apart. So when people just like, no, whatever the topic is, whatever like I'm hesitant to like say anything political, because it just gets to be boring anyways. And I'm not looking for you to agree with me or disagree with me, and I don't even want to talk about politics, because I think what you have to say is going to be far more interesting than worldly events.
Well, we'll find out, but
no, we'll keep going. Already, this is like for me. I'm like, go Bob, go. Like, I get it. I get what you're saying, and the parenting thing, something I haven't experienced yet, but when did you start to notice that? Because I think when a kid turns 12 or 13. No,
I think so.
And I guess how has that affected you as the businessman, as the...
Well, you're always a product of what you come from, right? So I had a certain upbringing. And you take what you like out of it, and you say, I'm never going to do certain aspects of it. So from the moment my children were born, I viewed them as true individuals and souls, right? And it's been phenomenal to watch that. And I coach a lot. I've always coached. I grew up all boys Catholic schools, and part of our commitment to the community was you had a coach even while you were playing. So I was playing varsity sports, but you had to coach younger kids, and I love that model, and it's stayed with me forever. So I've coached probably since I was 14 or 15, beside playing as long as I can. Even now I play. Probably most people don't want to see that, but I still do it for myself, right? Because the only place I find true peace is on a baseball field, and that is absolutely true. That is my nirvana. Because quite honestly, it's probably the only sport that's timeless. There is no clock. You have to get 27 outs before that game's over. So technically, it could go to infinity. And for some reason, that's always appealed to me. I know it sounds ridiculous, but
no,
it
as
completely appeals to me.
A lifelong baseball fan, and that is my first love of a sport. It was baseball, and I actually miss it. Having left Florida, like I was playing in a couple baseball leagues as well as some slow pitch softball leagues. Just being on a diamond,
right.
Just knowing the game, and just like you're right. It's like, how long is this inning gonna go?
Right,
like, because you experience pain. Like in my life of playing baseball, there's like painfully dreadful innings that you're like, we're so bad. Are we ever going to get out of this? Is this ever going to end? And then, so you deal with that. And because you don't know when it's going to end. It could go to infinity.
Right.
Like, when are we going to call this? And then you have other innings where everything's going your way. Like, you're on the other side and batting through the order 1.5 times. And you're like, oh,
keep it going.
Keep it going. Like, it is, and it could keep going. Like, you don't know. It's like the anticipation. When is this going to stop? Is this going to stop? I miss baseball. What positions?
Third and pitcher.
All right. I knew you were a pitcher right away. When you said baseball, I was like, he's a pitcher. I miss it. I miss pitching. I miss baseball. But
yeah, and anytime there's a really monumental time in my life that I have to get away, I usually find myself at a field. And I can name the times, like 9/11. I eventually ended up certain deaths in my family and two close people of mine. That was where I went to kind of regroup, which is weird. It's also a connection point to a lot of my earliest memories because I really grew up on a baseball field. I was taught baseball by my grandmother who played in the 40s as one of those women's leagues. So it was really, it was just cool.
That's funny you would say that because this morning I walked by, it's on River Street, I believe. Yes, First Street. It's there was a picture of a photography studio, and there was a big picture of like this 3-year-old girl in a Rockford Peaches.
Oh, very cool.
And I'm like, oh, a league of their own. I was like, man, that must have been dope to have been a woman playing baseball at that time.
But then snatched away. The war's over. You can't play anymore.
Yeah, but the cat was out of the bag, right?
Right,
like,
thank God, right?
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine limiting somebody from doing something just because of gender or whatever, right? It's just
right.
I think
individuals. We're individuals.
Right.
Like,
I think we're getting to that point. I mean, I know there's still a lot of dissension, but I think if you talk to the younger generation, thank God, they don't really, for the most part. I mean, we're generalizing here. For the most part, I think that's not a immediate criteria for them. And I hope, and we can only get better, right? Everything's development and progression. We're never going to have the perfect answer. We're going to work toward it. And then we'll screw it up again.
Fantastic. And we will.
Right.
But hopefully we learn a lot of those, like the 20th century was a lesson learning century. Like we were trying to really just like, what are we? Like, what do we do? Is socialism the way to go? Communism? Capitalism? Fascism? Where should women go? What do we do with all these people that they're a little darker complexion than us? What do we do with all these people? And it's like, oh yeah, just let everybody do what they want. Like, that's the only answer. Just let everyone do what they want. That's the only answer. So yeah, it's there's good and bad. But I think as long as we keep that theme of just do what you want. Don't try to be a victim. Right? That bothers me a lot. It's like, no, we're not victims. I was actually just talking about this again yesterday. It's the gender thing. Like, I'm like, women are awesome. Like, when did women become so oppressed? Because for me, growing up, elementary school, high school, college, professional world, I'm like, women are awesome and excelling at everything. Like, everything that I see, women are doing incredible. And then now I hear, we're not giving enough opportunity to women. Like, no, what? Like, my whole life, women have been better at many things than me. How are they? They're better than me. Like, what do I win? Like, I'm not winning. I don't know who's oppressing them. Let me know who's oppressing them, and then we'll go get that person. But I don't know who's oppressing anyone. So that's another tricky one for people. It's like, ooh, you can't say that. You can't say women aren't oppressed. I'm like, I don't know. But let's talk about it. Because the 1940s, like the Rockford Peaches era, I get it. Like, we were only, 50 years away from, we didn't even have plumbing, like 50 years, but like wolves were still killing people and bears were still killing people. Like, it was important for a man to go out and do like manly things and a woman to like keep a house together. Like, that was a function. So yeah, I think when men came back from the war in the 40s and were like, you guys are playing baseball now? But awesome. We were just like, that's cool, but it was too fast for them probably at that time. And now we're like, yeah, go do whatever you want. Like, I think that's, like, we're approaching that ideal, I think, of those old ideas. They weren't even ideas. They were just, like, this is how we survived. Men go off to war, go off to work, and we're proud to support and help the family. And women were proud to keep the house together, keep the family together. And, like, it was just so basic. Like, we were barely surviving. Like, we had just gotten plumbing and electricity. We didn't know what we were doing. So, but now it's just so easy to be alive, I think. It's just like, yeah, of course everyone should go do everything. So this idea of, like, discrimination, like, where? Like, my whole life. I mean, please tell. I like to know. I do mean that sincerely. Where?
I think there is institutional discrimination. I think there are things that still exist, but I think we're working toward it. I think media gets a lot of bad rap, and we were talking about media and how it focuses on the negative a lot, and that's done because it gets more ratings and it gets more advertising dollars, right? If you get more eyeballs, a corporation's going to pay you for your program, and if you skew negative, it's going to get better ratings, and it's money, right? The flip side of that is we have access. The beauty of our smartphones and the internet is we have access to trillions of stories. They're not all negative, right? Sometimes you have to really go look for them, but we are shown every day that anybody can do anything, which in the past probably wasn't, right? So we have this knowledge base now that we don't have to think it, we can see it. And that makes it tangible, just like in business, right? The idea is nothing until I make it tangible and execute. It's the same model. So as a media person, right, I've owned a film studio for a really long time. We build a lot of content. I love storytelling. I love listening to somebody, whoever it is. I don't care who it is. You can pick somebody off the street. I love listening because their story arc is interesting. There's a phenomenal movie in everybody. And that's really how I've lived my life. Everybody you meet probably has a phenomenal movie. The only person I say doesn't is probably me. So I might have a very short trailer, but everyone has a great story. You have to want to listen instead of talk over them. And you don't want to ever put a construct of, you look a certain way, I assume you've done whatever. Check the box.
Yeah, that's a tough one. We're still, and that's my problem with superficiality, is people don't, they're really worried about who the messenger is for an idea. Not the idea, but who's saying it. You can't say that. You look like that. You can't say that. You're the wrong sex. You can't say that. You're not from there. It's like, but think about the idea, not the person saying it. And I think that is one of our big hiccups. But it's biology. It's evolution. Like, we see somebody that's different, and we want to win. Like, we want to protect our ideas, right? Like, protect our ideologies. Like, no, this is mine. Like, don't attack this. So people don't want to hear ideas, and anything they can do to discount, to fight back, to discount what you're saying, they take it because it's an easy way out. Like, you can't say that. You never lived that life. Yeah, but look at the idea. Like, that's it. I don't know. That's my problem with the discourse that I see, because I'm fascinated by that. It's something that, like I mentioned, like, I just started getting on YouTube 4 years ago. It's one of the things I'm like, oh my God, look how much people hate each other.
Right. But if you only take that as your sample, you think everyone hates each other, right?
Until you go outside. Then you go outside and meet people. You're like, oh my God, everyone's nice. Like, people just want to be friends.
And the nasty ones you stay away from.
And they probably don't leave you probably don't run into those people.
Oh, you do.
Well, New York City, yeah. Come on. I'm not offering that as a challenge. I know we can go find
competition.
Yeah, I would. We can find the jerk friend. That's a good idea. Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many. Yeah, it's just a journey, and I feel like you kind of said the same way. You want to hear other people's stories. You asked me why am I podcasting? That's it. Like, my favorite compliment. I'm not doing it so well right now because when I'm sitting with somebody that feels like a friend, and sometimes I do just have friends sit here, I start to ramble and just like really maybe take on too much. So I feel like you're a friend, like right out of the gates.
I'm on.
Like right out of the gates. So like other times if I have like a scientist or professor or whatever, and I'm just like, okay, like I'm like, feed me.
Right.
But I feel like we're two dudes at a bar, so I'm gonna talk a lot.
There should be some alcohol here.
Yeah, there should be. I'm sorry. I will provide alcohol, not wimpy water next time. I will get us some Guinness.
Always too late.
Yeah, it is. But I'm enjoying this already. We can definitely do this again whenever you want.
Well, I'm right up the block at Ignite.
Deal.
So
Yeah.
there, so.
Well, you always have something moving around, it seems. So tell me more about Ignite You then.
So it's the Summer Accelerator Program in Troy. It's been here 4 years. We take certain companies and we try to bring them kind of out of that idea stage that most people are in, or that classify themselves as entrepreneurs, and get them into some kind of structure that says, here's who my customer is and who's potentially going to buy what I'm selling. Because until you get to that point, you don't really have a business, right? It's supported by NICE and Innovate 518, which I work for. But it's agnostic to campus, so I love that part. It's anybody, right? It's the melting pot of America. Like, if you get through the vetting process, we're going to work all summer with you to make you more successful. And at the end of the day, it's not about the business; it's about the entrepreneur.
How do people get into this program? You find them, they find you.
We find them, they find us, they apply. There's a multiple step application process that we're just finishing now because it starts in 3 weeks. So. But I love it just because we're developing people as entrepreneurs, not businesses, right? So at the end of the day, as we talked about earlier, most startups are going to fail. It's just the nature of business, right? You run out of money, you don't have enough clients, you need to feed your family, you close the doors, and then you go do something else, right? But if you develop the entrepreneur, they have a skill set that they can take anywhere. Like, I think everybody should take entrepreneurial courses. I do not believe most people are truly entrepreneurial. I don't believe you can make an entrepreneur. They have to be born, right? There has to be something in them. And this isn't about me. This is about anybody. I can teach you process of entrepreneurship, which will help you in any career path. I cannot take certain things out of you that says, I don't care what happens to me. I'm going to keep moving forward. Everyone's telling me I'm an idiot. And this is a personal story. Everyone's told me I'm an idiot. But I'm going to keep doing it because I believe in it so much. I'm on a mission, right? That's an entrepreneur. And when I fail, I just get back up again, right? I don't stay down. I don't go into a tailspin. And maybe if I do, it's 12 hours.
It's brief.
It's self-pity moment.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, grow up.
It's
right?
like, wait, I'm so stupid. I'm terrible at this. Blah, blah, blah. And then you snap out of it. You're like, you're being a wimp. Pick yourself up. You're better than this. Commit to your plan,
and
right?
That was a great comment you just had because you internalized it. People who say it's everybody else's fault probably are not entrepreneurs. Because an entrepreneur is going to take it upon themselves. Like, I screwed up. And that's great that I screwed up because I learned from it, right? I iterate. I pivot. But if I'm sitting here going, my company failed because of that person. Ooh. No, if somebody didn't buy it from me, it's my fault. If I didn't explain what I'm doing well enough, it's my fault. So
I think it's for me. I know how it feels. I like feeling that I'm in control of my own destiny, and that's it. And if I'm not taking the blame for it, that means I'm not in control, and that rubs me wrong. So, but as far as the credit goes, like when something goes successful and it's going to go right, that's just fuel. That's just fuel. That's not even like stop to like, hey, you did it. It's just like, ooh, you're doing it. Like, it's not a done process. But when I fail at things, it's like, all right. And it feels good. Like, it's like, okay.
Not always.
In this way. Okay. No, initially it's like, oh, God, no. But it feels good to me. The way I look at the world and myself is it's another problem I get to try to solve. Like, okay, you failed. This sucked. This was a terrible idea. Your execution was awful here, or whatever it is. Right. Then I get to say, oh, good. I have another problem I get to solve. Like, I get to solve this another way, and I know I'm going to learn. Like, I know because I'm fascinated by learning. So I know I'm going to learn. So I have no choice but to internalize it. Now, here's something. I have a question because you've hit upon teaching entrepreneurs. I've seen school when we lived in Florida, where my girlfriend worked. The college had recently. It was Wayne Huizenga. He was like, you know Wayne Huizenga. He had the Wayne Huizenga School of Entrepreneurship at Nova Southeastern University. I'm like, how are you going to teach people to be an entrepreneur? Like, I'm very skeptical of that in a university setting because, once again, the word entrepreneur can mean a lot of different things to different people, but I think it's a state of mind less than, you mentioned the processes. So what's your take on university, like a school entrepreneurship, versus say something small like what you're doing? Like it's more boutique probably.
Well, yeah. So there is a process that anybody can go through of thinking entrepreneurial, right? So there's a process of taking an idea, testing the idea, pushing the idea out to market, and then pivoting as the marketplace tells you what to do. So there's a process that anybody can learn about. There are steps, right? The entrepreneur is somebody who's going to keep driving it regardless, right? And I think there is almost no, I know entrepreneurs are always seen as arrogant and egotistical. And on a certain level, you have to be, because every time you come up with a new idea, everyone tells you it's wrong. Like, you live in a world of perpetual negativity.
And
right?
mediocrity.
And mediocrity.
It's easy to be mediocre.
Right. So these are people that are trying to stand up and do something different. And they might be doing it for a million different reasons. But in the process of thinking through a problem to solve it, there is a process of entrepreneurship, right? That it's just a different way of viewing a marketplace or a problem. So anybody can learn that process. You can't learn the inner fire that I would classify as an entrepreneur. It's the person driving regardless of what's happening. Like, they don't hit a roadblock and stop. They either go around the roadblock, knock it over, jump over it, right? They figure out a way to get beyond the bottleneck, the problem. So, and we also live in an age where everything is really sexy about entrepreneurship. And anybody who's ever started their own company, it is not sexy at all, right? It's a lot of work, no reward for a really long time. And a lot of times having those internal battles like, what the did I do?
What is this? What am I?
What is wrong with
Were these
me?
people right? Are
Right,
all those
exactly,
people
right.
right? Am I mediocre? Are my ideas worth anything?
And that's healthy, right? We should never think we're doing. We never should go into anything thinking I know more than anybody else around me. Like, and that's why, lifelong listener is so important, I think, as an entrepreneur. Like, I need to listen more than talk. And I know right now we live in an age where the entrepreneur is supposed to get up there, pitch all the time, always doing some kind of dog and pony show. You're not learning anything if you're talking all the time. So shut up and listen, right?
This is so you said there about how people respond when the roadblock happens. This is something I think a lot of people don't experience, is that they don't even acknowledge that there's a roadblock that's going to happen. Like you said about you started your first business with the baseball team and it was a success right away. Like, and you saw everything was be a success. Is that your experience? Like, you didn't even know that a roadblock would happen or a failure that would happen.
I was so naive, right? I was so naive on the reason I started it, the reason what I wanted to get out of it. It was really, when you're 13, you're fairly self-centered. It's development. But very quickly that turned, because I loved the interaction to clients, to staff. I love the relationships that you could build, and now it's called culture, right? I love building culture. So people give me a lot of credit for building a lot of companies. I built a lot of cultures that just happened to be successful, if that makes sense. And it's much more personal. Like, growing up in a very Italian family, there's always arguing. So that's part of our culture, right? We argue a lot, but it's not done because I think I know more than you. I'm going to test everything you say, because somewhere in this interaction, we're going to get to a better answer, right? But you have to have a very deep relationship with people to have truly honest conversations, right? There's very few people that walk into a room and just be brutally honest.
I can.
Me too.
I can, and I love it.
Not many of them.
Now,
because people read it wrong. They think, that guy's a jackass,
yes,
right? And there's a million things I've been called in my life. It's not because I'm trying to think I know more. I just want to get to a point faster. Like, I don't need to sugarcoat something. You're doing it wrong because I did it wrong like that. So why do it again? And I know everybody has to learn at their own pace, but I think part of all these programs and entrepreneurship programs is because of technology, can we get through some of that nonsense quicker to see if there's really something good there? Because a lot of people get lost here. Like, most businesses fail not because they actually are executing. It's because they had an idea and they start putting business cards together and sending emails out. They've never actually done the work yet. And then they get bogged down with none of that's working. And then I stop, which says you're not an entrepreneur, because an entrepreneur would say, okay, I'm doing something wrong here. Let me fix it. Like you just said, right? You just laid yourself bare on your first emails out as a consultant. You're like, here's my IQ test, here's my personality test, here's my resume, here's a baby picture.
Here's a video. It's a video.
And here's a video.
Here's a 2-minute video of what I sound like and what I.
So here I am, world. I would love to focus group that and see what people really think. Like if you could put them in a room, not people that know you, just here's information. Tell me what you think. Go through it all and tell me what you think. That'd be fascinating study of human nature and psychology.
It is.
We should do that. We should bring you over to Ignite You and have you do that.
I would love to. I'd absolutely love to.
To the cohorts, because in that's a learning process. Because part of what I always teach in entrepreneurship is to sell something, and everyone's selling something, right? You need to open yourself up a little, because no one's going to buy rationally. They buy on emotion. And how do I connect with you? It's not because you've said 7 right things to me. It's because I like you and I trust you at some level. That means you've opened up a little. So you opening up completely.
I'm so open, man.
For me, it's a great case study. It's a great exercise. So
it is. I will send you that email.
Excuse me for writing, but
no, please. Notepads are. They're the primary way to get through the day. Like how many ideas have escaped from you because you didn't have a notepad or your phone? Now you can just talk on your phone and record your idea. But there's so many over the thinking in my 20s or even early 30s. I'm like, where's my notepad? Like where's my phone? And you always think you're gonna remember it later.
There you go.
You never remember
just write it down.
Never. So yeah, I will send you I'll send you the email in the exact form that I've sent because I've tested it. I'm starting by just sending it to 5 or 6.
But they're friends though, right?
No. Oh no, it's out there. Yesterday
it's a blind study. You are an animal. Holy crap!
No fear, cavalier. I sent it to 2 friends yesterday, who actually I might potentially be. They might take me on as my friend's the CFO there, so he might take me on as a consultant anyway. So I'm like, okay, this is the way to broach it. Share this with the entire organization, whoever, board of directors, I don't care. But yeah, I did test it with them too, and I had one little concern. I was like, let me see if they report back on this concern. And sure enough, I talked to my friend this morning. He's like, yeah, there's just one thing I think you should do. And it was just, I wrote in the box, because you just talked about everything that I included in there is IQ attachment, personality, resume, a video, and then a little letter, like just a little introduction. And he's like, that needs to be bigger. I only wrote like 3 or 4 sentences saying, and then tried to go watch the video. He's like, kind of seems like it's spam by only having 1 or 2 sentences up there. He's like, you need to make that longer. I was like, that's exactly the thing I thought, and I'm glad he affirmed that I was correct in believing that. So I wrote like 4 paragraphs this morning.
See, I think that's too much.
You think so?
We don't read like that anymore. We read bullet points, right? Most people scan, pick 2 or 3 things out, and they're done. Going back to our conversation earlier about superficiality and people don't dig deep enough, is because they don't read down the page. So that's why if you notice most websites and most ads now are a header and bullet points.
So I am sending it now out to 5. This is the test.
Okay,
and
cool.
to see to your point, because it's still a question. Because I said this is what I'm currently doing when I sent it to a different friend today, because it should change. If it's not successful, it should change. So I'm doing 5 tests and see where that goes. But I also apply my experience with anytime I applied for a job, which has been years since I've applied for a job, but my cover letter would be me. I would hook you. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do that with this one too. And I've always gotten responses. If I wanted the job, I got the job. Like if I wanted the job, it was an awesome cover letter. And they were like, I called you back because your cover letter. Like I've never heard anybody talk like that. Like that's fantastic. And then the interview, it's if I wanted the job, I got it during the interview. But if I came off as, I don't want to do this. Like I'm like, oh yeah, I don't like this. I didn't get the job or didn't take the job. But the
BS meter is high in most people now.
Yes.
You can tell when people are just disengaged.
Yes. Yeah. And so I took that information. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do 3 or 4 paragraphs here.
I can't wait to see it then.
All right, good. And your critique would be ideal. I would love that. Because I sent it to my friend out in LA this morning, and he's basically a hiring manager for this massive healthcare corporation. So I'm like, this is your realm of competence. Tell me what you think of this. And just the impact. Like, I don't even care the assessments. Like, I don't want him to, like, just, if you got this email, what would you think? Like, we probably got to talk to that guy, right? like I hope that's my impact. Because that's
get
me.
My email.
Because you're exactly right. It's about opening. I'm so open. And it's the here I am world that always kind of been working towards. It's always in the back of my mind, like, okay, you're gonna get there, but you got to be ready, and which is can be certainly construed if we don't take it apart. That can seem anti-entrepreneurial, right? Like to like no wait, like you're supposed to just jump right in, right? You know, there's stops and starts to things, and first thing I had to do was finish my damn hate my taxes. I had to wrap that up and call clients, and be like, hey man, we're done. I had to turn away new business. I'm like, sorry, not doing that anymore. Like, so that was the big step like 3 weeks ago, like telling people.
Oh, it's that soon. Oh, I thought it was more than 3 weeks.
Oh, taxes? Well, this last tax season,
that was it.
That was it. I'm not doing that damn paperwork anymore.
In 2017.
Yep, it's done. And I actually saw one of my clients this morning at a meeting, and he's like, "So, I got to find someone else now in July when I start my new LLC." I'm like, "Yeah. I mean,
I can go into your consulting.
That's exactly what it is now. But now you're gonna have to pay my consulting fee, right. Which is it's a big boy one, because I was kind of friendly with my fees for Hate My Taxes, because I got sick of seeing CPA firms overcharge people exorbitantly. I'm like, this isn't that hard. And now when computers do 94% of the work, like, it's like, why are we still charging $500 or $10,000 for a tax return that I've seen? I'm like, well, this isn't that hard. So I was kind of on the cheaper end there, also just because I was brand new, and I was like, I need to differentiate myself a bit and just get some business in by being cheaper. But yeah, now with consulting fees, no, that's something I'm confident in selling. So this is a premium. So I don't know if I was like, I'll help you with the paperwork, like guide you, but I'm not doing it, and it's gonna cost you more.
So I'm gonna give you advice on launching that. You should get 1 or 2 clients and just kind of map out the interaction from start to finish, so you can figure out who's the best clients for you, which gives them the best experience too, right? Because a lot of times when you're starting a business, you take everybody. So I always tell everyone, if you're going to start a business, you have to know how to say no to the wrong client, right? Because the money is attractive. Like, I'm starting a company, and that money is my validation, right? You're paying me because I'm an expert. I'll put everything in quotes right now, right? I'm an expert, and I get a check. But if there's not a match on how you work and just philosophy, that disconnect in the client-provider relationship can destroy the future, because what's going to happen is you're not going to have fun. It's going to feel like work. You're going to lose passion and energy, and that's, I would say, probably 2 and 3 on the list of why people close the door on their own small business. It's cash flow first, but then energy and passion, it becomes like the job they try to get away from. Does that make sense?
It does. I'm just absorbing that.
And you won't know, like, no company knows who the right client is when they start. Like, that's the beauty of entrepreneurship and small business. I don't know, but I need to pay attention. Like, I love that client. Why do I love that client, right? This is my dialogue that always should be going on. Why do I really enjoy that? Because they agree with me all the time. They don't give me any pushback. Most of my clients that I really love push back all the time. Like, I love the interaction, because I know it's not going to be easy. And then I never get complacent, right? And that's my biggest worry. I don't want to ever just kind of go into neutral.
That's exactly something I said this morning. I went to the Troy bid meeting, and I met someone, and a potential client, and I could tell that she and her husband were like pushbacks. And even my friend there, she's like, they're known to be difficult to work with. My exact response to that was, that's who I want to work with. Like, I want somebody that's going to challenge me, hold me to a standard, and test me out. Like, that's what this is, right? Like, you're testing something out. And as far as like finding the right clients, that is so ideal. Exactly what you just said. Like, if you can find the right people that you love to work for and with, it's exciting to get up and solve that problem with them, right? To offer your services.
Well, that's about team too, right? When we think of team, we usually think of the team in the company, but a team is really your relationship to your clients too. They're part of that team interaction, and if it's adversarial, which seems to be the norm, like I have these, like, right? You sit on that side of the table, I sit on this, and there's a battle going on, right? In a lot of business, there's a lot of tension. There shouldn't be. I mean, there could be creative tension. There could be disagreements. There shouldn't be tension in, like, I hate going to see this client. Like, I don't care what we're talking about. They can be giving me a big check. I hate going to see them, right? I've never liked that adversarial relationship. Like, I want to be on the same side with you. My job is to make your company better, so I'm on the same side as you, right? If you're going to fight me on everything, for no reason, just to be difficult. And I've had clients like this, right? They would argue about the donuts we brought. And my answer, and I'll clean it up. My answer was, just be thankful I brought you something. Right?
I could fill in some of the other flags.
I was much younger and not as polished as I am now. But
the point was made. You might have been reactionary.
It was emphatic.
There's other ways to you could have said that. Like, yeah, I know.
Now I'll just eat it myself.
Yeah, like, okay, fine. That, to your point about finding clients and not being anxious, I mean, of course, I'm starting now. If whoever responds to my email or calls me or whatever, like, I'm like, sure, let's sit down and let's do this.
And you have to.
Here's the unique, I think it's a novel idea the way I put myself out there with all of this. I think that in and of itself is going to potentially attract the person I want to work with, the people I want to work with.
It will definitely attract the wrong people too, though.
It's a wide net. It's a really, really wide net. Yeah.
And the beauty of business is we can plan all day long. The marketplace never reacts the way we think it's going to. So I can't wait to see the breadth of potential targets you have as clients. Quite honestly. I might turn it into some kind of reality show.
You could. You have my permission. You don't even need my permission because once I provide you the information, it doesn't say like...
I'm just going to follow you around to your meetings.
Yes. See what kind of crazies I draw to me. And that's one of the questions I have. But it's the same thing with this podcast. If you ask the world for something, see what it says back. I was like, okay, I'm going to do a podcast and see who answers. Like, see if people want to talk to me about things I want to talk about or things that I just want to hear about. And the answer is like, yeah. Like, after this, I got pretty much one per week for the next 4 or 5 weeks.
And I love the fact that you didn't mention our common friends when you first reached out to me. You didn't.
No. And
I love that.
That's who I am. It has to be mine.
Right.
Like, this for whatever this is, it has to be mine. The same with consulting, with podcasts. It's like I have to validate. I'm like, I think because I'm kind of gregarious. I try to be as friendly as I can. I actually don't have to try to be friendly. Apparently, I am super friendly. But I want to test that, and I think I'm knowledgeable. I think I'm smart. And I think I can help, and I want to help, and I have all this business background. So it's like, okay, let's go out there and test it out. Same with the podcast. It's like, I'm interested in a bunch of shit. Is there anybody willing to come and talk to me about stuff? Because I don't want to have to go back to college to learn about astrophysics. Like, well, I kind of do want to go back to college to learn about astrophysics.
It's a block away.
Yeah, I know. But like a couple weeks ago, I had a dietitian on here. We sat for 3 hours and talked. She was incredible. And I'm like, good, I don't have to go to nutrition school now. And I don't have to...
I'm going to ask a question. Did you change your diet?
My diet has been changed dramatically in the past 4 to 5 years overall.
So you didn't get anything new from that conversation?
No, I definitely got new stuff, but it was basically confirmation that I was doing a lot of the right things. But no, my diet... Actually, no. I should say I have tweaked it. Thank you for asking that question. And now I'm actually circling back and like, no, that is a dramatic change I made. She really emphasized omega-3s and omega-3s for brain health and brain function and processing. So kind of grossly, everyone's grossed out by this. The chick at Walmart is like, what is that? Because I had to return jars of herring, the Vita. They're just chopped up chunks of herring in wine sauce. There's virtually no sugar in there. And you just take a fork and you eat it. It's super high in omega-3. Super high, because she was really emphasizing omega-3s.
So it's pretty much chum.
Delicious chum in wine sauce, sir. It is.
Pretty much.
It's not. It's not mahi mahi. It's not grouper. It's not. It's.
And they sell this because I've never
seen
$7,
$7 or $8 at Walmart. Because I was buying them in the market 32 or whatever, and they're like $10. And I'm like, and I'm having one per day. And
you're eating a jar of this a day?
A jar of that a day. I eat it for breakfast. I mean, with other, like, I'll have breakfast,
You're eating it like olives, pretty much.
That's exactly what it is. And it's super high. I mean, it's so sustainable. There's a billion freaking Atlantic herring
Well,
out
not
there.
at your pace.
No. I've 3 different occasions in the past 3 weeks. I've 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is. 3 different occasions I've bought all of it that they had left on the shelf. And I actually went back there yesterday to reload, and they hadn't even restocked it. And I'm like, you're Walmart. You should have tons of this. But when I was returning a bottle, because it was like the seal was broken on it, and I returned the 1 bottle and I had 3 more with me. She's like, what is that? I was like, you sell, like, nobody buys this, apparently, except for me.
I've never heard of it.
But dude,
I don't like fish anyway, so.
When I went to... I've always kind of done this, though, because it's not like it was the first time I've ever eaten this. When I went to Netherlands a decade or so ago, I knew that their delicacy was like one of the things you get on the street was a herring and a bun, and I had a ton of those when I got there. And then just throughout the years, occasionally I would get these jars, but it isn't until I got healthy with doing a bunch of other things, like cutting out sugar and cutting out a ton of no white bread, like really cutting down carbs. Now when I eat this fish, I'm like, woo! I ate it 5 minutes before I came here. Like, so I was like, it sharpens me up.
So I'm going to push back on the sugar thing.
Please.
I believe sugar is very healthy.
Go on.
Just as an Italian, everything comes from sugar. I would never take sugar out of my diet. Just going to say it right now. I love sugar. I put sugar
You're
in
rigid.
everything.
You're that rigid with
On
it.
sugar. That's all I'm rigid
But
with.
isn't there a part of you that wants to experiment? Like, that's me. That's why
Most things don't taste good without sugar. I'm just going to
See, that's where I disagree with everyone that I meet. Taste is irrelevant to me. It's completely irrelevant. I love things that taste good, but it's just fuel. Like, I look at food completely different over the last few years. It's just fuel. I mean, you can't tell by looking at me, and I was never fat, but I was 50 pounds bigger. And I was just beefy dude. And I was eating pasta 4 times a week, man. I was,
running marathons.
And not running marathons. My cardio wasn't so great. It was good in basketball courts. I was okay. Short bursts, but no marathons, no high endurance things. Actually, well, I have ridden my bike several times from bicycle with one of my best friends from DC to Pittsburgh. I've done that 3 times, I forget, and then across the state of Florida from the Atlantic to the Gulf Coast. So I had some cardio. I was pretty good, but I was still bigger.
You're just showing off. You just showing. That's a crappy driving a car.
Do you want? Okay, so do you want me? In the process. All right, so I'm 37. In the process, I mean, it's not like it's part of the process, but since I don't like being called a show off because I'm just, if it does make me uncomfortable, so I feel compelled to shit on myself now. In the process,
you don't have to. It's just a joke. That's the joke. You do not.
All right, fine. I won't tell you the negative parts that would definitely bring me down.
Use a bicycle.
No, none of that.
It was a motorcycle.
No, it was a bicycle. It was a bicycle, and some days
it was just a joke.
No, yeah. You don't gotta worry about making me sensitive, but I would have. I was gonna give you something that was gonna be self-deprecating. I'm so sensitive, man. I'm so sensitive.
I haven't done my job till everybody cries, so thank you for validating my life.
No, it's I definitely look at food differently, and I look at my health differently, and I see the benefits of it. Like, I bet. Taste is irrelevant to me. If you tell me it's not going to get me, like, I'm open to everything. Everything. If you tell me that whatever you want to feed me, if you tell me it won't get me sick, I'll eat it. I don't care. And I eat the spiciest. Do you like spicy food?
I like spicy.
I eat the spiciest food of anybody I've ever known. Like, nobody comes close to me. We go out to restaurants, Indian, Asian, whatever it is, and it's a spicy dish. I'm like, can you make that as spicy as you can make it? And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, don't make it white boy hot either. I was like, you have a cousin, your parents or whatever, how hot do they like it? Like, do they like it Indian hot? Make it me the way your dad likes it. And they're like, okay. And then inevitably, half the times the waiter or waitress will come back, be like, the chef is not willing to make it that hot, but here's a side of the sauce, and I'll just dump it all over my food. And this happened several times. It's like, I can't believe you used all that. I'm like, I wasn't lying. Like, so food and it just makes me feel good. Like, there's that little bit of pain. I don't know. I have a hard time with people and just trying to eat healthy. So I won't challenge you on sugar today, but I would challenge you.
It's the only banner I have, so I have
to. Okay. Is the only thing you're hanging on to?
It's pretty much
all right. It's your vice.
It's my vice. Yes.
Well, but I would just say be open to experimenting, just to see. You might be shocked. Like, whoa, I feel way different. I thought I was sharp and running efficiently before. 2 weeks without sugar. Look how I feel now. I might be addicted. I'm addicted to the feeling of feeling good. Like, I used to think that was a bullshit thing to say. Like, I'm addicted to feeling good. I'm like, you're a pompous little bastard. Like, no, you're not. How could you want to eat that?
Are you looking in a mirror when you say this?
Yes. And then, but now I get it. So I'm like, okay, good. There's been some transformation. This experiment have produced results. Results I wasn't expecting. Like, you might surprise yourself if you stop eating cannolis.
Really?
Cannolis are so good.
Or cotton candy.
We were just visiting a girlfriend, super Italian family in Philly, and they just always have delicious Italian food around.
Absolutely.
Like I just said cannoli because I really want a cannoli right now.
Sugar free.
No, I wouldn't eat it if it was sugar free. I wouldn't even eat it if it was sugar free.
Sugar free and gluten free. Go and try that. Have fun. Tell me how it tastes. So I'm not sharing that one with you.
How about pasta? Are you a pasta guy?
I am. I try to limit my pasta though.
Last year, I think I had it 3 times.
Oh.
I think I had pizza 3 times as well last year.
I think I had pasta.
And there were kind of experiments too to see how I would feel afterwards. And I didn't feel awesome afterwards. And I was like, all right, this is your new life. This is what you do.
I'll draw one line though. The fish in the jar.
You wouldn't even try it.
I don't like seafood at all. I've tried a lot of it. I don't like it. I don't like the
Across the board.
Across the board. Name a seafood. I've tried it. I do not.
Okay, I'll go right top shelf. Oysters.
Hate them.
Whoa.
Lobster. Hate.
I mean, lobster's fine. I don't. People get like, oh, lobster. Like, it's so great. Lobster is awesome, but
nope.
it's overdone. It's overdone. Like, I don't get excited for lobster. I mean, but when we go to Maine and you get a lobster roll and there's the ocean and the boat it came off of, there's that experience. The same thing with getting oysters in Maine. And when they just shucking them right in front of you on the dock, it's like.
Then you put hot sauce on them.
I do put hot sauce on them.
Knew it.
Well, they have what do they have? The vinegar horseradish sauce, like whatever you do. Yeah. That's a tough one for people. But once again, that thing is so nutrient dense. Like, I eat in terms. I sound like I'm a freaking robot a little bit when it talks about eating, but I do think in terms of nutrients. I don't think in terms of taste or how it looks or how it makes any of that. I think in terms of nutrients. Like, I eat liver. I love liver, but I hate liver. It's the only food I've ever eaten that I've thrown up from. I was as a kid. But how it makes me feel afterwards, I'm just like, okay, I got to prepare this, make this really spicy or something in order to eat it. The same thing with oysters. Well, I do love oysters, but I'm trying to sell you on oysters a little bit. I know you are. Man. Yeah, I'm gonna get. That's where this is gonna wrap up. Is me saying it's so high in micronutrients like magnesium and iron, and just it tastes like when they taste like the ocean. It's just like heaven. It is heaven for me. I'm not overusing that. But it jacks me up. When I eat 12, 15, 20 oysters, I'm jacked up for the rest of the day. Like, they say it's an aphrodisiac, but that's not the whole story. The reason it's an aphrodisiac is because you feel vitality. Like, you're like, roar, like your body was craving those nutrients. So that's why I eat the fish, man. The jars of fish, it's not a very inspiring thing to talk about. It's not it's a weird thing. I had this vision while driving today. I'm like, so when I get my first consulting client, or 2 or 3, that I need to stay out there for a day, 4, 5, 6 hours, and I show up with a freaking jar of herring, how do I talk about that? That was what I was dealing with earlier this morning. Like, how do I say, hey, I know this is kind of weird, because it's unusual, but I operate more efficiently off of it.
I would say take a conference call in your car and eat the fish there. Because if you were in our office, we'd make fun of you.
What if I'm impervious to being made fun of, or if I'm just like, I don't care?
Oh, it's just for the comedy.
Yeah, I know. Well, I would appreciate being made fun of, because I'm happy to talk about it. I'm throwing it out there right now how ridiculous it is that I'm a grown man eating half of my meals out of a jar of fish.
I would love to ask people listening to this to email you. Anybody else who eats that? A random sample of people. Maybe that's your market. Only people who eat those fish could be your client.
That's a great test.
You could share a jar.
That's a great test. See, it would be fun just to walk into a client and just have it and not even say anything and just walk away knowing, because you know how people are. Human nature is very easy. Like, as soon as I leave, they're going to be talking about that. Like, am I the weirdo? Like, who's this guy we brought in? Like, he's crazy. He's really weird. He's just sitting there eating fish, and now he has fish breath. But I'm okay with that.
We'll just carry it in like a coffee cup.
Oh, God. See, that's gross.
No, but you come in and you just put it there. Like,
Clearly,
I have a coffee cup. I have my water.
You're in Troy all summer. If we do this again, next thing is gonna be waiting for you. Is next time we do this a Guinness and some pickled herring.
I can't. I'm gonna go look for those on the shelf tonight, just so I can say I know what you're talking about.
VITA, it's a big play. Go into the grocery store.
What
they often don't know where it is.
What aisle is it?
What store are you going
International? I don't know. Price Chopper,
right.
Hannaford, Walmart, any
okay, yeah. It'll be in the cooler section near the seafood.
Yeah, I never got there. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You ate the whole section. The whole section's off limits.
It's awful, yeah. That's why I've never seen it. Now it makes sense.
Oh.
I guarantee no one else listening has ever seen it either.
Dude.
Except in the Netherlands.
Yeah, they love it. But it's so, like, it's also... I like to spend I feel like I'm wasting time too often if I'm not having a conversation. Like if it's a meal, I'm sitting down with someone and then eating, then I'm like, okay, this is a good use of time. But if it's just by myself or a time at night or lunch or whatever it is, and it's just me, like, and there's no conversation going on, I'm like, get this over with quick so I could go do something productive. So that's where kind of this all stems from, is just simplifying. Like,
makes sense.
I eat 6 eggs a day too. Like, it just give me simple food that I could just heat up real quick or eat out of a jar.
Did the dietitian look at your normal day's intake?
That is actually on the horizon. We talked for over 3 hours, and
you didn't get to that.
We didn't even get to. Dude, we had like lists of. I mean, it's like us. We don't know. We're barely getting. We don't even know where direction. We have no idea where we're going. But it was the same thing with her. And she's like, oh my God, we didn't talk about this. We didn't talk about that. We didn't talk about that. I was like, I'm going to make an appointment with you, and I want to do like a full blood panel and review all of this stuff. Because I am fascinated by that, like just my health. Like I try to get my health checked like every couple of years or so. And I recently had it done like 6-7 months ago, like blood stuff. And I'm like, ooh, I'm doing good. It's working. It's working.
You should put that in your resume going out. Here's my blood sample. Not everything else in there.
You're right.
That'd be awesome.
That is a brilliant idea.
I don't know who would hire you after that.
That's kind of psychopath, whichever. It's one of those. It's one of those like, oh, no. Like, personality assessment is enough.
Right.
Like, that's deep. Like, it's deep,
that's
man.
Your next
I highly recommend you do it.
I'm gonna use it for all my companies.
And
too.
you could check out the methodology. You could, if you just go into YouTube and just type in the Understand Myself, and you'll understand the entire methodology. You're like, okay, this is worth my time to do right and honestly, and pay a little $10. But yeah, that's where it stems from. Actually, is right up your alley. Is this guy, one of the main developers of it? He was a consultant for companies on helping them hire the right people and administering these personality tests and get the right people in the positions of influence. Like, okay, what does the top of the hierarchy need to look like? You want these types of people. Second tier, and just the whole way down. So he's been selling these for years, and yeah, the methodology is pretty tight, and it's like, okay, all right, I get it. I get me a little bit more now, and it made me. That was the thing. It made me more comfortable with, and that's the and so this has been the past month or so. I've been obsessed with. My obsessions go here to there.
That's a whole different conversation.
Because there's so many. Like, if you just talk about the last 4 books I read, there's no connectivity. The last 5 documentaries I read, the last 10 YouTube videos, it's like, who is this? I'm a crazy person. So, but my craziness obsession for the past month has been IQ and personality traits in people. And one, it starts with, understanding yourself better. And I find now that I moved on from that, I've watched several YouTube videos of people who've talked about their results and shown their scores, and I'm fascinated by that. And then I'm reading up on IQ and just how it's just a fantastic metric. It is super reliable. It's uncomfortable to talk about, but because we don't like saying there's dumb people. Like, we all know there's smart people, right? There's smart people. You're a very smart guy. So you exist. Everybody can acknowledge there's smart people, and that's great. But we want to think everyone else is kind of just like, you're just average. But no, the truth is,
well, it's a spectrum.
It is a huge spectrum, but we don't. We get uncomfortable when we get down to that. The spectrum.
Think of those poor people. They got to live with it.
That's the thing, man. It's scary. Here's a number. One of the numbers I saw. So the U.S. Army, it is illegal to enter the U.S. Army because they take their IQ test, like the ASVAB or their version of an IQ test. And if you're graded at being below an 83 IQ, it's illegal for you to enter the armed forces. What that is saying is there's not a job we can give you that you're not going to be a net positive to that position. You're going to be net negative. You're not even going to be neutral. You're going to be a detriment. You're going to be an Achilles heel. Like, we can't teach you anything. Do you know how many people? No. That's 10% of our population. Call it 33 million people that the Army doesn't think can be trained to do anything. That's scary. That's
I want to know where they're getting jobs, though. How do they take care of themselves? That's a documentary.
What?
Following them around.
What? Follow people with low IQ? You think they'll like that?
In this day and age, probably. Right?
But it would answer the question. It would answer a very significant question.
So I didn't even know that existed. So see, I learned something today. I love that.
In line, but the thing is, you can also be. There was one of the YouTube videos that led me on this path was actually like Howard Stern. He had his entire staff or friends like, you're a New Yorker, you grew up with Howard Stern.
Absolutely.
I was listening to Howard Stern on 9/11, by the way, the moment that it happened. I remember that if we're connecting a couple things. He had his staff like take IQ tests. I don't remember if you ever saw any of that, just who was the highest IQ on staff. And there was one dude who was... He was like Howard like building up. There's 5 of them, like who ranking them, and this guy was just like nervous the entire. He's like, "Oh man, come on, just tell me a number. I'm afraid it's me." Like he was really concerned, and it was actually impressive that how introspective he was, how well he knew himself, because he's like, "I think it's me. Like I think it's me. I don't think I'm that smart." For somebody to say that, it's really significant. It turns out he was the lowest. He was at 87, and he was so bummed out. The dude was so bummed out, but he was a success. Like I forget exactly what he was done, but he had a couple wonderful family, had a nice business going and everything. He found his way. Right. And that's just one of the fascinating things. It's like IQ isn't everything. You have to have these other areas, say the personality assessment. Like this was probably a very conscientious guy. Like you have to be really diligent with punctuality, like we talked about. I love that you showed up like 5 minutes before. Like you're my favorite so far for doing that. The last 6 not so good at the punctuality. Even if it's 3 minutes late, that to me is like
right.
But we said 4. We said 4. And it made like it. Going back to that, with what I took away from him and just my family, friend, anybody you've ever met. Like I really the last month or so, I'm like, okay, I have more patience with people now. Like I understand why you're probably saying that or not doing that. We're not the same. Like you just don't understand that you should. I don't want to say sugar, but say like people who go overboard and they smoke and they drink too much and they don't exercise and they don't read books and they don't get up on a proper time. It's like, okay. Maybe you're just not lazy. Maybe you just don't have these characteristics, and that's not your fault because that's you said spectrum earlier. It's a full spectrum of the human experience. Like we have Einsteins, right? We have Elon Musks who are hyper diligent and hyper intelligent on a different planet. But then we're gonna have most people are just like there was a purpose for having a lower IQ at some point.
That guy from the Howard Stern show, he might not have IQ, but he has EQ, right? He's an awareness. There's an awareness to him that most humans don't have, right? And you always look for that emotional intelligence, right? Or even empathy. So you can cross a lot of things off. That would be barriers with a low IQ if you have these other skill sets, right? It seems like he did from his comment.
Yeah, and that's actually, he was so bummed out, and this is what kind of endeared me a little bit more. Howard Stern was probably the first person that I used to stay up watching. He had the show on E, and it was, it come on at midnight or something on Saturday night, and that was my favorite show because it was just people sitting and talking, which is what we're doing now. And then voila, like he was the originator in my mind. It's like I'm fascinated by this, but it really endeared to me how he was like he could tell this guy was visibly upset because it is a tough subject. You don't want to if you feel dumb your whole life, which is what this guy was basically saying, and then you finds out you are dumb,
Right.
just that's the word. There's a better word to use, but we know what we're talking about. That's what he was saying as well. He's like, I can't believe I'm this dumb. But Howard's like, you're okay, man. Look at what you've done with that IQ. Like, you should be proud. Like, that's how I felt watching it too. I'm like, you're standing in front of Howard Stern right now with an 87 IQ. You got there somehow. Like, you got there. You're doing life, man. You're doing it. And so in a way, in a very real way, it's inspiring to see that. It's like, well, if he can do that, it makes me even more responsible for something that I didn't work hard for. I just grew up and I have an okay brain. That's it. My brain's okay. So it gives me more responsibility. Like, I feel like I have to own that when I see somebody who he thinks like he's not a success because we put too much value on it, right? Like, I felt like this guy was just like, oh God, like nobody wants to be the dumb one in class or dumb one
We
anyway.
put labels on everything.
We do.
That's...
And it's and like I said earlier, it's so much more nuance. There's so many more layers that you can't, like, that's what Howard was telling him. It's like, dude, don't pay attention to that. Like, look what you've done with your life.
It was a shtick. It was content for my show.
Yeah, exactly. But that's also, I just like seeing, like, Howard was really talking to him because everybody knows it's a sensitive thing. Right, like there was a room full of men, so they were hyper competitive about I'm higher than you. You're an idiot. Like, there's all that. So it was entertaining, but at the same time, like, Howard broke it by saying, "You're doing all right, man. Like, this isn't everything. That isn't you. That's just a quality of you. That's just something you were given with." So it makes me more studying all this and learning as much as I can and listen to really smart psychologists and clinical psychologists. I'm like, okay, I start to understand people a little bit more, and my patience is already through the roof. That's braggadocious, I know, but my patience is, I'm over patient, maybe. I don't know. I'm not over patient, but with people I am. And now it's even sharper. Like, okay, I get why you're not understanding that, or you're a little volatile. Like, I get it. Like, it's fine. I get it. I shouldn't be thinking that. I shouldn't react that way. I shouldn't take it personally. So take the understand myself. You learn a lot, man. You learn a lot.
I'll make my staff take it too.
You should. And you're going to make people uncomfortable because it has negative aspects on there.
Part of my job.
Good.
It's all good.
That's good. As long as you're comfortable with it. And
I'm comfortable with it.
And it's your employment matters. This is a condition of employment. No, I mean, jokingly.
No, but they already know that. So my team has been with me. I have 100% retention in my companies. They don't leave.
That's silly.
So
that's silly, man.
I could threaten them with anything at this point. They'd be like, "I just go shut up." I'll make, as you said, I'll make a game out of it.
Wait, how is that? I have to think. What you just said, 100% retention. Tell me how that is not. Or maybe it is. For me, I just can't think how that is not the thing you're most proud of.
Well, we didn't even talk about what I'm most proud of, right? Beside family.
That's my question.
Oh, it's the only thing I focus on, going back to our relationship talk. So I'm a perfectionist, right? Anything below 100 was never a good grade for me. I don't like anything that fails, even though I live in failure as an entrepreneur. Kind of a real, right? There's a lot of inner battle. The only thing, so the process we have to bring people in now is very intensive because I only want culture fit. Because I know that once you're in, you're going to stay. Because you're not going to want to leave. Because you found a home, right? You're on the right team, the right place. You're empowered and developed and progressed. So that's all I look for in everything. Every company I help, I'm always looking for where's the brand, where's the culture, right? We need to build that so we bring the right people in here. Because when you bring somebody in, you have to get rid of them. Right? If you have to get rid of them, it's very disruptive to their family, right? It's not just about paying somebody. It's everybody that relies on them working, right? That's a really deep responsibility. The other side of it is if I bring the wrong people into a small company, I can kill my company by hiring the wrong person who's going to leave. So I've spent money and time, which I don't have either one as a startup, and then they leave. So I get nothing back from that. So it's the two-edged sword, right? I need to bring the right people in so that they create a home for themselves and their family and friends. I need to protect my company by bringing the right people in. And people don't spend enough time on that. Typically, as an entrepreneur, you hire people like you because you want that collegial feel. Like, they think like me, we'll do great things together because now it's me multiplied. That is not the way business works, right? I need to know my skill sets. I also have to know my weaknesses and find people that fill all my holes. It's just any baseball, any sport team. You don't have all the same skill set. You can't. It doesn't work. I need the fast person. I need the smart person, right? I need the big person to block if it's football. It's the same in business. And if you do it right, of course there's tension and there's issues and all the things that go into any human relationship. But at the end of the day, if you're all aligned with the mission and everybody feels like they have ownership, everyone wins. So that's what I'm most proud of on any company I've ever worked with, is the team and the culture.
Is that your main focus, and is that what you think you're best at?
I don't know if I have a best. I'm really good at assessing things very quickly and finding issues in companies or finding solutions to their problems. But a lot of that for me starts with the brand inside, right? It's what is the culture? Why are these people so different? Not skill set wise, why is their personality and philosophy so different? Because you've never put out there what your mission is. You don't really have a culture. You're just kind of grabbing as you need. And that's how most people hire. They hire when they need. So I always talk about building brand systems way before you ever need them to scale, if that makes sense. That's a whole other conversation.
So it's about it's trying to organize things before you get ahead of yourself by putting the right team in place. Like, is this like chess? Is this like chess?
It could be, but it's also just a process. Like, if you can create the branded systems in your company, when you have the moment that you have to scale, you're not just trying to jerry-rig it together. Because most companies that are very successful, if you look at them, at some point they're going to fall because there's not a consistent system. It's kind of just loose put together. And even the biggest companies in the world have these really big disconnects. Like, thank God they make so much money because they lose so much money here. Small companies can't really afford that. I can't lose 3 big deals in a row. I'm going to be out of business, right? So, it's a deeper look inside before you ever go out.
I'm gonna let you wrap it up. I'm assuming we're close. I'm assuming we're close to time to go.
Everything on
This has been fantastic, Bob.
This
has been a lot of fun.
Likewise. We'll do it again.
Yeah, I will. And please, I'll email you this afternoon or this evening. My silly email.
Yes, and in a month when we start Ignite You, I'm going to bring you in.
Please, I would love to. I love talking to people.
Awesome.
In case you podcast
I
and give
could
it away.
tell.
but here's the best compliments I get are when people say I'm a good listener at the end of a podcast. Like, wow, you really listened. This one, I did a lot of talking. Just because when I find somebody I
wasn't listening.
When I'm a friend. I know, good. All right, great, man.
My friend.
All right, go do something else, everyone. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Doug.
This was great, man.
Nice job.
This was great. For real, man.